Hello everybody and welcome to the Zenidel. I'm Zen and today we're starting off reading a book with Yuri. So I open the book and start the prologue. I soon understand what Yuri means about reading in company. It's as if I can feel her presence over my shoulder as I read. It's not a particularly bad thing, maybe a little distracting, but the feeling is somewhat comforting. Yuri is in the corner of my eye. I realize that she's not actually looking at her own book. I glance over. It looks like she's reading from my book instead. Sorry. I was just... Yuri, you really apologize a lot, don't you? I've noticed that too. I have. I do? I don't really mean to. Sorry. I mean... Here, this should work, right? I slide my desk until it's up against Yuri's, then hold my book more between the two of them. Ah, I suppose so. Yuri timidly closes her own copy. I guess she didn't need to buy two anyway. Once we lean in a little bit, our shoulders are almost touching. It feels like my left arm is in the way, so instead I use my right hand to hold the book open. Ah, I guess that makes it kind of difficult to turn the page. Here. Aww. Yuri takes her left arm and holds the left side of the book between her thumb and forefinger. Is this really a disturbing game? Because it's so cute so far. I do the same with my right arm on the right side of the book. That way, I turn a page and Yuri slides it under her thumb after it flips to her side. But in holding it like this, we're huddled even closer together than before. It's actually kind of distracting me. It's as if I can feel the warmth of Yuri's face and she's in the corner of my vision. Are you ready? Huh? Or eh? To turn the page. Yeah, he's over here distracted by being so close to her and she's already read everything. I think I got a bit distracted for a second. I glance over at Yuri's face again and our eyes meet. I don't know how I'll be able to keep up with her. Ah, that's okay. You're not as used to reading, right? I don't mind being oh, well. Wasn't paying attention to who was talking, but anyway. I don't mind being patient if it takes you a bit longer. It's probably the least I can do. Since you've been so patient with me, and you're making someone who doesn't like to read a book that they don't even know if they like. Yeah. Thanks. We continue reading. Yuri no longer asks me if I'm ready to turn the page. Instead, I just assume that she finishes the page before me, so I turn it by my own volition. We continue the first chapter in silence. Even so, turning each page feels like an intimate exchange. My thumb gently letting go of the page, letting it flutter over to her side as she catches it under her own thumb. Hey, Yuri. This might be a silly thought, but the main character kind of reminds me of you a little bit. You think so? How does she? This is gonna be a mistake. Well, I guess she's more blunt in a lot of ways, but she also second guesses all of the things that she says and does. Like, she's afraid she'll do something wrong. That's a great compliment there. It's not like I can see into your head or anything, 'cause you're kinda obvious, but they're kind of reminiscent of some of your mannerisms. I see. Yuri remains silent for a moment. But, Zen, that's probably a terrible thing to have in common with her. Oh, that's so embarrassing that you think that. Wait, I didn't mean it in a bad way or anything. Of course you didn't. Sorry, I really didn't know you were self-conscious about that sort of thing. The girl who second-guesses everything? No, had no idea. I guess I more meant that it's kinda cute. Ah, what are you saying all of a sudden? Do you think I'm cute? Or that my mannerisms are cute? Or they're both cute? Oh, here comes Monica to save the day. Okay, everyone. I think it's about time we share today's poems with each other. We might not have enough time if we wait too long. Ah. Yuri exhales, spared from finishing her thought. Is that alright, Yuri? You look kind of down. I'm sorry if you haven't been looking forward to this, but I'm gonna make you do it anyway. It's fine. Yuri releases her hand from the book, causing it to close on top of my thumb. Hopefully it's not a heavy book. I guess I'll do some more reading tonight. Or would you prefer I only read it with you? I guess I don't have too much of a preference either way. In that case, I'll read a little more tonight. It'll be more fun to read it with you after it picks up a bit, you know? Yeah, your book's boring so far. Even though the beginning of the book is supposed to hook the reader, yours just bores the reader. In that case, feel free to finish the first 2 chapters in your own time. Alright. I stand up. I make a mental note of where I left off in the book, and then slip it back into my bag. By the way, did you remember to write a poem last night? Yeah. My relaxation ends. I can't believe I agreed to do something so embarrassing. I couldn't really find much inspiration since I've never really done this before. Well, now that everyone's ready, why don't you find someone to share with? I can't wait! Sayori and Monica enthusiastically pull out their poems. Sayori's is on a wrinkled sheet of loose leaf torn from a spiral notebook. On the other hand, Monica wrote hers in a composition notebook. Composition notebooks, the much more elegant choice, apparently. I can already see Monica's pristine handwriting from where I sit. Natsuki and Yuri reluctantly comply as well, reaching into their bags. I do the same myself. Who should I show my poem to first? Well, first, actually, I wrote a poem. I did. And I'm going to show it to you guys first. So, judge me, if you will, or critique me, as they say. But here is my poem. It's called The Little Things. Like frost on the grass, the little things they don't say lay over us, melting down the membrane of our mind, flitting back and forth through the spaces between time, whispers dark and deep, a fabric over our reality they seek to keep, tearing at the fragments that hold us together, creating a storm that over time cannot be weathered. So, that is my poem, and I'm going to pretend that they've actually read it and see what they say about it. And the first person that I choose is you, Yuri. Yuri seems the most experienced, so I should start with her. But in the comments, tell me what you thought of my poem, because I'm interested. I don't actually write poetry very much, actually, not at all. So, tell me what you thought. Let's see what Yuri thinks. As Yuri reads the poem, I notice her eyes lighten. Exceptional? Ooh, the smartest girl in class thinks our poem is exceptional. What was that? Did I say that out loud? Yuri first covers her mouth, but ends up covering her whole face. She's second-guessing herself again. He's going to hate me. Can we read their thoughts now? That's interesting. You really didn't do anything wrong, Yuri. You just, critiqued my paper. And you actually critiqued it well, so... That's... I guess you're right. I gave you a good critique, didn't I? What am I getting so nervous for? Yuri takes a breath. So, what kind of writing experience do you have? Your use of imagery and metaphors indicates you've written a lot of poetry before. Really? Wow, that's a huge compliment coming from you. Don't second guess it. This is actually my first time, really. Huh? Yuri stares at me blankly, then looks at my poem again. Well, I know that. I just meant, it was, exceptional for a first time. Yuri trails off, unable to find an excuse. She traces her finger along the words in the poem, as if breaking it down more thoroughly. Yeah, okay. This is the reason I was able to tell. It's just that there are specific writing habits that are usually typical of new writers, and having been through that myself, I kind of learned to pick up on them. Oh, did you now? I think the most noticeable thing I recognize in new writers is that they try to make their style very deliberate. In other words, they tend to pick a writing style separate from the topic matter, and they form-fit the two together. Actually, I just came up with whatever popped into my head, and it took me about 5 minutes, so yeah. The end result is that both the style and the expressiveness are weakened. Aw, my poem's weak. Once Yuri finds her train of thought, it's as if her demeanor totally changes. Her stammering is completely gone, and she sounds like an expert. Of course, that's not something you can be blamed for. There's so many different skills and techniques that go into writing even a simple poem. Ooh, my poem is simple now. Not just finding them and building them, but getting them to work together is probably the most challenging part. It might take you some time, but it all comes with practice and learning by example and trying new things. I also hope that everyone else in the club gives you valuable feedback. Well, thank you. Natsuki can be a little bit biased, though. I haven't noticed. Biased? How? Yeah. Well, never mind. By biased, she means childish. I shouldn't be talking about people like that. Sorry. It's fine. Talk about her all you want. I'm not sure if Yuri is apologizing to herself, to me, or to Natsuki. Probably to all three of you. Do you mind if I read your poem now, since you've, talked a lot about mine? Please do. I'd love to share my thought process behind it. Yuri smiles dreamily as if it's a rare opportunity for her, which itself is kind of funny. After all, isn't this supposed to be literature club? You'd think, wouldn't you? Let's see, Ghost Under the Light. The tendrils of my hair illuminate beneath the amber glow. Bathing, it must be this one, the last remaining streetlight to have withstood the test of time, the last yet to be replaced by the sickening blue-green hue of the future. I bathe, calm, breathing air of the present, but living in the past. The light flickers, I flicker back. So this poem is about a streetlight, and I kind of agree. I don't like the new streetlights, so good metaphors there. Metaphors, similes. I get the two confused, but I get the story. It's got a nice story to it. I'm sorry I have such terrible handwriting. What? I wasn't thinking that at all. Nope, your handwriting was nice and neat. But it took you a long time to read. That's because I was reading it out loud. Ah. And also he reads slow, remember? Well, I don't read script very often. I actually think your handwriting is pretty. Eh? That's a relief. Also, I like the poem. Even though it's short, it's really descriptive. I really understood what that streetlight was going through. It wasn't too short. I usually write longer poems. Not at all. I'm really glad you liked it. I'll be honest, since it's our first time sharing, I wanted to write something a little more mild. Something easy to digest, I suppose, and not filled with as much violence and gore and psychopathy. Are you into ghosts, Yuri? Huh? Actually, the story isn't about a ghost at all, Zen. Duh. Really? Because, there was the word ghost in the title, but I guess you like imagery and all that, so it was misleading. I must have totally missed the point, though. Well, I suppose you did only glance over it after all. But remember that poets often express their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences in their work? They usually do more than tell a simple story or paint a picture. In this case, perhaps the subject of the poem is only being symbolically compared to a ghost. Lingering in her lingering in her last remaining place of comfort, unable to let go of the past. And soon to be left with nothing. That's a lot more soul than putting it that way. I hadn't even thought of that. That's impressive. Eh? It's nothing, really. You're trying to be humble, but usually if you say it's nothing and you put a lot of work and thought into it, it just makes you seem more like a jerk. Yours was impressive too, so... Nah, you're doing the exact same thing, dude. If anything, I could probably learn a thing or two from you. Oh, now you're sucking up. You think so? Yeah, of course. I was really nervous about doing all this, but in the end, I enjoyed it. I'm going to keep doing my best for you, Zen. Aw, me too. Alright, guys, I am going to check out the next Poetry Masters in the next episode. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. So until next time, I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.